to the book of Acts in the New Testament, Acts chapter number 17. Acts chapter 17. And when you get to Acts 17, drop down to verse number 5. When you got all that together, Acts chapter 17, verse number 5, stand with me. Acts is a book that was written by Luke. It is a story about the first church, about the original church, and what the apostles did with and through that church there. Acts 17, verse number 5, it reads, "But the Jews which believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company, and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren to the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also." And verse 7, "Whom Jason hath received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying there is another king, one Jesus." Father, this morning we come together and look at your word. Father, let us be reminded this morning of what Jesus built upon the rock that is him himself, the church. Let us be reminded the power that the church has. Let us be reminded of our responsibilities within that building that Christ constructed. Father, let us leave here today with a clearer understanding of what we're supposed to be as that church. We give you the glory as it's the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. And thank you. Be seated. As I talk to people, a lot of times, especially people around my age, they quite often look back to simpler days, to a simpler time. And sometimes we look to simpler times in all areas of our life. Judicially, I read not long ago in the newspaper about a mugger in San Francisco. He was robbing a lady, and a taxi cab driver saw the event happening, and the taxi driver took his car and drove towards that mugger, and the mugger started running him until he ran up against the wall, couldn't go any further, and the taxi driver pinned him against that wall with his car until the police could come. The result of that was he received a broken leg, the mugger, and the result was he got a $25,000 settlement because of that injury that he received. Our judiciary system has become so complicated that we long for simpler days. 50 years ago, that kind of thing would not have occurred. We long for simpler days. We long for simpler days technology. A man by the name of Alvin Toffler in the 1970s wrote a book called Future Shock. And in this book, Future Shock, the author said that by the 1990s, that people would only be working 20 hours a week or less, and they would have all kind of leisure time because of technology. Well, I want to tell you, technology has done nothing except complicate our life. People are more fragile and frenzied than they've ever been before. Technology did not improve things. It only made things more complicated. We long for simpler times. Economically, our country is $6 trillion in debt. I have read that our 12-year-olds right now, in order for them to live like they're used to living, they will need 5 incomes. They will need to work 5 different jobs in order to have the same quality of life that they're used to now by the time that they get to the age of 25. 5 incomes they'll need. Our economic system, our judicial system, our technology has done nothing but complicate things. We long for simpler times. Not only in those areas, but also in church. You know that? Churches today seem to be getting complicated. Oftentimes, without necessity, it's just a part of society. Complication, it seems. Well, the church I just read about here in our scripture, that's a church. They were meeting in the house of Jason. You see, at this time, the first church didn't even have a building. You know, the church is not a building.
Right.
The church is the people. And you're a church. When we dismiss today, this church is not dismissed. No matter you go your way, she goes her way, and he goes his way, you're still a part of the church. You still are the church there. This church here met at the house of a man named Jason. I like Jason. And what happened, the Jews who didn't believe, they got upset. Why did they get upset? Well, verse number 6 said, because this group of people was turning the world upside down. And it says that not only that, but they did contrary to the decrees of Caesar. They had another king that they listened to, one Jesus Christ. Well, this church here was the simplest church that has ever existed. They turned the world upside down. All right, I say to myself then, if we want to turn the world upside down today, let's go see what this church did. Because if it worked for them, it'll work for us and any other church today. You want to look at that this morning? See what it takes to turn the world upside down, what this church did. All right, there is a description of what this church did also in the book of Acts, back in chapter 2. Turn with me back to your left just a little bit to chapter 2 of Acts. And when you get to chapter 2 of Acts, go down to verse number 41. Chapter 2 of Acts, verse number 41. Now, what the situation is while you're getting there, what has happened here, Peter, you remember Peter preached after Jesus has gone back to heaven, and Peter begins to preach, and he preaches to the Jews, and he tells them, you are the one that crucified the Messiah, and he said to them that they have got to repent. And they asked, what do we need to do? He said, you need to repent, accept Jesus Christ for the remission of your sin, and you will receive salvation. He says that to them. Well, after he preaches that, 3,000 of them joined the church because they accepted Jesus, they were saved, and they were baptized in water, which put them into the church of Jerusalem. Look at verse 41. It says, then they that gladly received the word were baptized, and the same that day were added unto them about 3,000 souls. Now, this was the first church. This was the simplest church, but it was not a small church. It does not matter what size a church is. A church still can operate with simplicity. Sometimes people think the bigger a church gets, the more complicated it has to be. That's why people like to go to small churches. It's less complicated there. But the truth is, it doesn't matter what the congregation number is, a church still operates exactly the same way. This church had at least 3,000 members. It had more than that because there were more than that to start with. So maybe they had 4,000 members. I don't know. That had to have a big house to meet in, wouldn't they? Well, what they did, they would divide up and meet in different houses. But they didn't have anything going on except they loved Jesus Christ. 3,000, but they were simple. Well, what did they do? Listen, now close. If you want to know what a church is supposed to do, let's go back to the church. This is the original blueprint for a church. This is it. Look at verse number 42. Hang on now. This is good stuff. And they continued steadfastly. Let's stop right there. There's the first problem in churches. We are not steadfast. What does steadfast mean? It means firmly fixed. These things that they did, they just didn't do it one day a week. This was their life. They were firmly fixed in this, steadfastly. What exactly does that mean, Brother Bush? Well, let me explain this by looking at a man's life. There was a man that was born June the 22nd, 1947. He died January the 5th, 1988. 40 years old when he died, but in those 40 years, he turned the basketball world upside down. His name was Pete Maravich. He was known as Pistol Pete Maravich because he started playing basketball so young that he could not shoot like this. He had to shoot like this. He shot from the hip. Therefore, he got the nickname Pistol Pete Maravich, and the name stuck all his life. Maravich was, as it says here in this, he was steadfastly committed to basketball. You know what he did when he was 7 years old? He began playing basketball. Every day of his life, before he went to bed at night, he hit 100 free throws in a row. One time he hit 500 in a row without missing one. He was steadfastly committed to basketball. He carried a basketball around with him all the time. Every place he went, he walked basketball. Every place he went, he dribbled basketball. He was steadfastly committed to basketball. His father was coach at LSU. Pete Maravich went to LSU to play basketball. In 4 years at LSU, Pete Maravich holds the record for the most points scored by a college basketball player. 3,667 points in those 4 years. They did not have a three-point line then. He averaged 44 points a game. If they had a three-point line, he took 13 shots, averaged 13 shots every game from where the three-point line was. That would have made him average 57 points a game. 57 points a game he would have averaged there. He turned the basketball world upside down because he was steadfastly committed to basketball. Steadfastly committed. Well, he went in after he graduated, or after he left college, he went into NBA pro ball. He played 10 years. He was an all-star 5 years. He averaged 25 points a game as a pro there. And he retired in 1980 from basketball. Retired from basketball. But it wasn't until after he retired that Pete Maravich said the greatest thing ever happened in his life occurred. In 1982, Pete Maravich was saved. Became a Christian. After that, he was no longer steadfastly committed to basketball. I've heard him talk since that time. After he was saved, he was steadfastly committed to Jesus Christ. Pete Maravich was a miracle. I'm not talking about how good a basketball player he was. Pete Maravich was born without a left aorta in his heart there. And the right one did all the work for both of them. He was born without a left one, and the right one did the work for both of them. There's no way Pete Maravich should have lived, let alone play basketball. But he did. Because the grace of God said, I'm going to give you time, Pete. I'm going to give you time to accept me. He accepted Jesus Christ in 1982. He died in 1988 from a heart attack, playing basketball, pickup game in a gym at a church. He died in 1982. Pete Maravich said, all my life I've been steadfastly committed to basketball, and I always was disappointed. He said, no matter what I accomplished in basketball, there was always something missing. I was never satisfied. He said, now I'm steadfastly committed to Jesus Christ, and I'm always satisfied. He said, I don't want people to remember me as a basketball player. I want them to remember me as a Christian. I've heard him speak at the Billy Graham crusade. Amazing his testimony that he gives there. He sincerely was steadfastly committed to Jesus Christ. He gave his life to Jesus Christ the same way as he gave his life to basketball. That's what steadfast means. I give you that example to show you that the church is just not part of your life. The church is your life. I'm not talking about just coming every time the doors are open. What you got to understand is that you are the body of Jesus Christ. You are his body. No matter where you go, you are taking Jesus Christ with you. Well, what did these people do? All right, they only did 4 things. Hey, that's easy. 4 things. I can memorize 4 things. 4 things. I can't remember telephone numbers because you got 7 of them. Just forget that. But 4, I can do, Todd. I can take care of 2. Let's do this today. Let's memorize these, put them in our heart, and then put them in our walk. Okay? Here we are. Let's keep on verse 42. The first one was, they steadfastly continued in the apostles' doctrine. All right, what is that? That's the Word of God. That's God's Word. You see, they didn't have the Bible. They didn't have the New Testament. All they had was what the apostles taught them. The apostles taught them the gospel of Jesus Christ, plus everything else in the Old Testament there. Back over in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. Let me turn back there just a minute. Let me read what it says there. Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. It says, this book of the law, that is the Bible, shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night. God's talking to Joshua right here, by the way. He says, the book shouldn't depart from you. Meditate on it day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and thou shalt have good success. You want to have good success and be prosperous? Keep this book in you all the time, is what it says in Joshua there. James, now here's the problem. Oh, I love to study the Word, Brother Butch. I love to read. I love to go to Sunday school. I love to hear it. I love to people teach it to me. Not enough. James in chapter 1, verse 22, he said, what did he say? I know. Be not only hearers of the Word, but doers of the Word. All right? It's not enough just to hear it. Do it is the other thing there. The apostles' doctrine, they brought the Word of God to the people in that church there. And the Word of God, now everything a church does has to plug back into these four things somewhere. What about our song service up here in the morning? That plugs in the Word of God. Todd does not bring any song to you that does not fit in the Word of God, do you, Todd? No, he prays about it. He gets the relationship with the Spirit. If it doesn't plug in here, Michaela and the other people that come up here and sing, and Marla, those that sing, they won't sing a song if it doesn't fit the Word of God. They won't. Everything that we do has to fit into the Word of God. Our songs, our Sunday school, our Wednesday night, everything. So the first thing that they listed here they did was the apostles' doctrine. The first thing a church does is study the Word. What you're doing right now. You study the Word. You keep the Word in front of you. You read the Word at home. You look at the Word. You study the Word. You talk about the Word. You have this in front of you all the time. This is our guide. This is our guide. You know, the two books that are looked at least in the United States, the Bible is second. Okay? The Bible is the second least looked at book. And you know what the first is? Your automobile instruction manual. I've read this. Do you know where yours is? I don't. Nobody ever looks at it. But the Bible, nobody looks at it either. It's just a book there. So often it's just another book there. But the first church, what they did, turned the world upside down. How? They kept the Word of God in front of them. What's the second thing? You ready? The second thing. Steadfastly in apostles' doctrine and fellowship. Fellowship. Fellowship, the Greek word translated fellowship here means communication. Communication means that we come together, that we speak with each other, that we communicate with each other. Fellowship is not something we have every once in a while across the street. Fellowship is everything that we do. There's no Lone Rangers in the church. It's fellowship. It's fellowship, fellowship. It's together. Where you say, Brother Butch, I don't really need anybody else. I'm strong enough spiritually. I can just handle things myself. You know, redwood trees. You ever seen a redwood tree? They're amazing how big they are. They tower up. They're powerful looking things. You know what? Those redwood trees, if they're standing by themselves, a light wind can blow them over. So what they do, they grow in groves. They intertwine their roots. And nothing can blow them over thee. That's where the church is. We intertwine our faith in Jesus Christ. And we're strong then. It don't matter how tall you are and powerful you are spiritually, you need the fellowship of the church. Otherwise, Jesus would never started. Then you need it. In Exodus chapter 36, verse 21, when God was giving instructions for building the tabernacle, he said, now the boards you use are going to be 10 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. Big deal. What's the big deal there? Well, say 1.5 is an unbalanced number. You had to put two boards together to make 3 cubits, which is the balance, the Trinity. So God was saying, you can't do things alone. And the tabernacle is a picture of Jesus Christ and His church there. You got to join together. You have a linkage. Folks, in the church, Fellowship is one of the 4 things that first church did that turned the world upside down. We got to love each other, we got to connect with each other, and we got to have a linkage. In 1 Peter 2:5, Peter said we're living stones. That means we're alive. We rub each other. We're moving. And between us, in order to keep that movement from irritating us too much, there's love. Love is the mortar in between us that keeps all of our movements together there. So they were steadfastly committed to fellowship. Fellowship is the church, not just sometimes. All the time is fellowship. So they were steadfastly committed to the apostles' doctrine, that's the Word of God, and fellowship. What's the third thing? All right, look there. And in breaking of bread. Breaking bread. That's the Lord's Supper. That's the Lord's Supper. See, we as Baptists believe there's 2 ordinances that we celebrate. But only one of them is for people who are in the church. Okay? That's the Lord's Supper. Baptism happens, and that brings you into the church. You say, here's the way it works. You're saved by the grace of God, by the Holy Spirit is in you. You're baptized with the Spirit. You're saved. You're going to heaven. Then you come to the church and you say, I want to join up with this group. You say, okay. And you go into the water to show your death with Christ. I died and now I'm raised. A newness of life there. That's when you become part of the church. Now, once you become part of the church, then we have the Lord's Supper. That shows what Christ did. That He died for us. It showed everything that He did in that beautiful ceremony. And it resets our dials. It recalibrates us. We remember it's all about Jesus Christ. In fact, on this table up here it says, do in remembrance of me. The Lord's Supper reminds us that we do everything in remembrance of Jesus Christ. If a church does anything that's not in remembrance of Jesus Christ, we should stop doing it. Everything we do is in remembrance of Jesus Christ. So the first church here that turned the world upside down, they were steadfastly committed to the apostles' doctrine, fellowship, breaking of bread. One more thing. Say the best for last. Prayers. Prayers. This is the best. Charles Stanley calls it the ultimate communication. It is. It's communication. It's not a monologue. It's a dialogue with God. It's ultimate prayer. And you know, you say, well, I can pray by myself. Yeah, you can and you should. Because Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verse 6, He said, when you pray, when you're alone and you pray in this manner here. And He gave us the model prayer there. Yes, you should pray by yourself, but He also said in Matthew chapter 18, verse 19, 20, there's something special about when 2 or 3 of you come together and make a request. There's something special about that, Jesus said. Yesterday, at my house, we had 3 grandchildren there. I was studying out there on the back sun porch. I was studying there, and all of them began to get their bathing suits on. And I started saying, beautiful, wonderful question. Are y'all going swimming? and they said, yeah, we're going down. There's a swimming pool. Our neighbor down the road has a swimming pool. And so we're going down there, and in a few minutes, they all 3 came out with their Mimi behind them, all in their swimming suits. I'm studying. I'm busy. They said, Granddad, are you going swimming with us? I said, no, I'm going to study. Y'all go and have a good time. That's all I said. Well, they went out, and Mimi kissed me goodbye, and she got in the truck, and they went down the road. There was something about them 4 asking me, though. When they got together and said, Granddad, you going swimming? I said, no, but I really knew I was going. So I got the bicycle out of the garage. And I aired the tires up because they were all flat. I don't ride it that often. Not as often as I should. I got on my swimming suit, and I drove down the road to where they were swimming. Snuck in on them, Surprise. Why? Something special. When the children come together. Say, Granddad, you going to do this? When you come together, your Heavenly Father, you say, Father, will you do this? He's touched. How do I know? Because I made His image. I don't look like Him, but I have that heart. He gave it to me. I had the feeling. He knows the feeling. This church prayed. I can't even imagine how much they prayed. But they prayed. That's what it says here. That they were steadfastly committed to prayer. Steadfastly committed to prayer. And prayer is not just a part of your life. It is your life. All four of these are not just part of your life. They are your life. When somebody asks you, what do you do? You should say, I'm a Christian. Because everything else plugs into that. That's what you should say. What do you do? I'm a Christian. No, I mean, what do you do? That's what I do. I'm a Christian. Well, what does a Christian do? How does this affect us? How does this affect us? Well, turn back to where we started today, Acts chapter 17. Acts chapter 17, turn back there. How does this affect us? What is it going to make us be? If we steadfastly commit ourselves to these four things. All right, back in chapter 17, at verse number 2. Chapter 17, verse number 2. It says, and Paul, as his manner was, went unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the Scriptures, opening and alleging that Christ must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Jesus whom I preached unto you is Christ. All right, if we become a church that's steadfastly committed to these four things, we're going to have our manner is going to be to tell people about Jesus Christ. That's what it is. If we're committed to these four things, we are going to tell people just like Paul did. That was his manner. When he walked into a place, first thing he said, listen up, folks, I'm going to tell you about Jesus. Walter Kennan in Union City, Tennessee. He got saved when he was 65 years old. 65 he got saved. He carried a Bible with him from that day on, every place he went. And every place he went, was a restaurant, it didn't matter, doctor's office, it didn't matter. You're going to hear about Jesus Christ. I said, Brother Walter, why do you do this? He said, I'm making up for lost time. 65 years of age, he got saved. That's what Paul did. That's what we must do. We must make this something that is our manner. Oh, I don't want to do it today. I might make them upset. I don't want to talk to them about Jesus today. Listen, get them upset. They're going to be a lot more upset one day when they realize you didn't tell them. When it's too late. And what's going to be the result of that? Well, we're going to have a good time. Then people are going to believe. Look here. Verse 4 it says, and some of them believe. When you tell people about Jesus, some of them are going to believe. But look at verse 5. But the Jews which believe not. Some of them are not going to believe. You're not going to get 100%. That's not your problem. Your problem is to be a witness. That's what Jesus said. You go tell them there. And, all right. Now, one last thing. No, it may be the last thing, Todd, but it's close to the last thing. Listen to me. We're close to the last thing. We're real close. Turn over to verse number 7. Whom Jesus had received, or Jason had received in these. It's all the people that was in Jason's house there. They said about them, they all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there's another king, one Jesus. We will have a different way of doing things. When the church does things the same way that society does, they got a problem. We're different. We honor the leader of society, but we got a different king. All right? We got Jesus. One Jesus, we got a different king there. And as our music people come forward, we are at the last thing right now. And I want you to remember this. So, this is so important. In July of 1996, there was a third-string catcher on the Chicago White Sox Major League Baseball team named Chad Kreuter. Chad Kreuter. He was a third-string catcher on the Chicago White Sox baseball team. And he was playing that day, and in a collision at home, he caught the ball, and the runner ran into him at home. He dislocated his shoulder, and he broke a bone in his shoulder there. And he was went to the hospital, and he was put on a 60-day disabled list. Now, for a reserve third-string catcher, that's not good. Because if you're a third-string catcher and you're put on a disabled list, there's a good chance you're not going to come back to the Major League team. Well, the players obviously liked him a whole lot. So what the players did in order to show support for Chad Kreuter, he was number 12 on his uniform. They all wore number 12 on their cap. All the other players on the team, while he was on the disabled list, they put number 12 on their cap to show their support for Chad Kreuter. Now that's one thing. I see a church is like that. All for one. All for one. When one is hurting, all of us come to that person. That's the easy part. That's what we do. Come to them. But now, you know, when Chad Kreuter came back to the ball team, Chicago White Sox, you know what he did? He put the number of every other player on that team on his cap. He puts the number of every other player on that team. What's that saying? In the church, not only is all for one, but it's one for all. Okay? We must be a people who give up what we want sometimes for the good of the whole bunch. You understand that? It's easy to say all for one. And we do that. Somebody gets in the hospital and, man, we're gone. We're with them. But sometimes it's difficult when something happens to us. It's hard for us to say one for all. I understand. Sometimes I don't get my way. Sometimes there's some other way that's better for the whole group. And that's what we must understand as a church. This church turned the world upside down. By studying the Word of God, by fellowship, by the Lord's Supper. How often do the Lord's Supper? Every day. You say, brother, we don't do it every day. You can in your mind, in your heart. Because every day you can come back to this table and say, I remember. And then when we celebrate it here, when we come to it and have this ceremony, at that time, it just sort of brings it all back together. But every day, we need to come back to this table and remember that. And the Lord's Supper and then prayer. We can turn our world upside down for Jesus Christ. Now this morning, if you're in this room, you got to be saved. That's the first step. Church won't matter until you have salvation. Just because you put your name on a membership